by Children's Medical Center.
Well, we're just weeks away from the beginning of school year. Can you believe it? I can't. Well, one of the biggest challenges for me and my family is getting the kids to bed early after a relaxed late night summer. You know how this goes, right? Well, Dr. Keisha Shaheed, a pediatric sleep specialist with Children's Medical Center, is here with some great tips on how you can avoid the battles that come with reestablishing bedtime routines. But before we get to that, we've got a Twitter question. So let's go over to Dina.
Dawn, we do, and I think we hit a nerve with sleep routines. I mean, I think every household. We have a question from Brent Johnson. He wants to know, my kids are going back to school soon. What is the best way to get them back in a schedule? Shock or gradual?
That's a great question. So where do you even start to reestablish that routine?
Well, I mean, I think it's important for parents to look at where they are, because a lot of people really get way off in the summer. If you're a drill sergeant or you're really diligent engineering type of person, you may be able to shock those kids right back into a routine. Gradual probably works best for most families. And that's why it's good to start now, because you have about 3 weeks before school starts. You can start backing that routine up. The best way to start is with an established bedtime. Mm-hmm. So if let's say your kids are going to bed at midnight right now, that's a little bit late. So start at 11. Set the bedtime and graduate the routine to that bedtime, and then back that bedtime up by about 15 minutes every night.
Oh, okay. So gradual, constantly increasing the sleep. Mm-hmm. How many hours of sleep do our kiddos need? You know, I've got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old who, if they don't sleep a lot, are really crabby in the morning. So how much sleep do our kiddos need? Right.
So that varies by age. So if you're dealing with pre-adolescent kids, so before puberty, your elementary school kids, they're going to need around 11 to 12 hours of sleep a night. This is something that parents are not very aware of or prepared for. So naturally, you're going to deal with really irritable children in the morning if they don't get that amount of sleep. Teenagers, adolescents, they need between 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep every night. And we can look at our society and know that most teenagers are not getting that. So it's no wonder they're not so happy.
And it definitely affects how they do in school. Absolutely. And stuff of that nature. Yeah. I know you mentioned gradually introducing time so they get more sleep. What are some other tips to help reestablish the sleep routine?
So I think the key for most families is a lot of families eat dinner together. Mm-hmm. So start with everything changes after dinner. So after dinner, the entire family goes from loud and well lit to slower and darker and quieter. That's what I tell all my families. Let's go to slower, darker, quieter. Any sort of electronics should be over after dinner. The light should go from overhead lighting to lamp lighting. The noise level should go from boisterous to, okay, now we're winding down.
In my house, we call that chill. Mommy goes, it's time for some chill, and everybody in my house knows what that means.
Yes.
A question, you know, it's hard to get those kiddos back into the routine. Mm-hmm. There are inevitably going to be some fallout, some breakdowns when they don't want to get up. How do you deal with getting those kiddos out of bed and getting them going in the morning when it's time to go back to school?
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately if you got them to bed in a good way, then they can wake up in a good way. What you'll notice over the summer is that kids who get the full amount of sleep that they need wake up on their own, and they're bubbly and ready to face the day. So the key to getting them waking up early and waking up well is going to bed well. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is to try to make waking up not a rushed, forced event. Open up the blinds, get some natural sunlight in, make it more of a routine as well. Like, here are our clothes, they're laid out. Mm-hmm. These are the 4 things we need to do before we're out the door. Not just bursting in, we're late,
we gotta go.
Yeah, here's your Pop-Tart in the car. Yeah.
Exactly. And a question that I've had come up a couple times, is it okay to give your kiddos melatonin to help them go to sleep at night?
That's really a great question, and no. We do not recommend melatonin as a sleep aid for a typically developing child. Mm-hmm. If you have a child, the other good thing about starting your routine now is that you get to see how much sleep does my child actually need. And is my child having sleep problems? You can start to observe those things as you back up the routine. And if you notice that and the child seems to have trouble falling asleep, that's the time to talk to your pediatrician, not to go and give them a sleep aid.
Got it. Well, I'm going to get some blackout shades because it doesn't get dark till about 9:30 right now. My kids know. They're
Yes.
like, it's not dark yet.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Dr. Keisha Shaheed from
You're
Children's
welcome.
Medical Center. Great advice. Can't wait to use this in my home. Still to come on Take Charge Parenting, millions of families will be packing their kids up and heading to college. The best way to stay organized and keep the emotions from getting in the way of all that joy? Stay tuned. We've got some tips coming up.